My name's Walter, and I'm a pretty typical 6-year-old. I like to do 6-year-old things and be cool. I like to play a lot of sports like baseball, and I like to play soccer, and I like to do basketball. That might be my favorite. Pretty good at it. I do some ninja classes. Pretty good at flips. I also like to go to concerts and do fun things with my family, but mostly, we really like to travel. And for 6 years old, I've been to kind of a lot of places. And I really like going to places. And I really want to share them with you. So, we're gonna start a channel, and I'm gonna get to share everything, because it's a really wide world.
We are officially starting Route 66, and our first overnight stop is Meramec State Park. We're in Meramec Caverns and getting ready to start our tour.
Wit is what dangerous. This? No, look, I can just keep it swinging. It's fine. It's not going to hurt anything. And before I explain what's going on with this pendulum, I do want to talk about this area of the caverns. Now, this area was used as a gunpowder mine by the Union forces during the American Civil War. The state of Missouri itself was very divided. It was very sad to have brother going against brother in this very important war in our American identity. Now, with Missouri being divided, this portion of the state was under Confederate control. So obviously the Confederates did not want the Union forces making gunpowder here and sending that to the front line. So they sent a Confederate militia here to destroy the gunpowder mine, and indeed they were successful after probably a really harsh battle. Of special interest to that story and struggle, it's of note that one of the members of that Confederate militia that came here to destroy this gunpowder mine was Jesse James. So if you didn't know, you know today, Jesse James was a Confederate. And it is believed that it was his time spent here during the American Civil War that he knew to return here later after a train robbery. He probably did, it stands to reason he did some exploration, because some of the areas of the cavern that he entered seems pretty uncanny that he would know to go there. And more to come on that. This pendulum is cool, in my opinion. It was installed by a group of high school students in the 1950s. And it is actually a replica of a very famous physicist's experiment. This guy lived in the 1700s. His last name was Foucault. And what he was trying to do with his pendulum was prove to the academic community, and now society as a whole, that Earth indeed rotates on an axis in space. And how it works is you get this pendulum going north to south, and then over the course of 12 hours or longer, it will appear that the pendulum has changed direction and is now moving east to west. But it is not the pendulum changing direction, it is the Earth's rotation that makes it seem as though it is, which is difficult to conceptualize, but very cool. But just to fill you in, this area is called the division room because it divides the upper levels up here from the lower levels down there. So the way this tour will go, we'll go down there to the lowest level of Meramec Caverns, we'll come back here, and then we'll head up. Back in 1933, when they first came in here and they were getting it together to do cave tours and turn this into a show cave, this was really believed to be the stopping point. They didn't believe there was anything beyond this area of the cave because up here it was seemingly a solid rock wall until just by chance somebody was messing around, they yelled into like a crevice in the rock and they heard a significant echo come back. So that was absolutely evidence that there's more beyond that point. So they opened up the area, you did it the way they always do, opening up cave areas that are tight with dynamite. And they did indeed discover the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th levels of Meramec Caverns. Now, all of us are going to go and physically be on the 5th level. The 6th and the 7th are inaccessible for anybody because they're so full of formations, if that gives you any hints of what they look like. We will be able to see the entrance to those areas, and it is my favorite visual of the entire tour. So I'll be eager to see what you guys think. They were followed here by the local sheriff after that train robbery. When the local sheriff arrived at the cavern, he opted to wait. He was going to try and starve them out because going into a pitch black cavern to take on a couple of outlaws, this is probably not guaranteeing you the most success. So the whole idea was they can't stay in here forever, they'll come out. But after several days, the sheriff and his men grew restless. They wanted to achieve their goal of bringing these outlaws to justice and be able to go home. So when they finally came in here preparing for the worst, all their guns loaded and probably said a couple of prayers, they actually only discovered the brothers' 2 horses. There was no sign of these guys. Because what the sheriff didn't know was that there's actually another way in and out of here, at least at that time. So we're gonna walk all the way down this river. We're gonna pretty much follow it to the lowest level of the cavern. And if you guys look to the right as you head down and then sort of look to the right, kind of back, you'll see there's like some cutouts of Jesse James and his brother Frank. And that really is just a visual to show you where the original escape route was. The water, if you followed it, flows all the way out to the Meramec River. So they just followed the water. They ended up way away from the original entrance that we all came through. And while the water still flows out to the Meramec River, this whole exit entrance has been paved over, so it doesn't really exist anymore, but the water still flows underground. Formations known as soda straws, stalactites, stalagmites, and columns and pillars. And I'll point those out to you once we're in the room. And feel free to come in to the room as far as you can. There'll be, on the way in there, there's lots of plexiglass. It's very annoying for taking photos, but once we get into the room, there's no plexiglass. You guys will be able to take some amazing photos. So without further delay, everybody, welcome to the jungle room. bit small in there, so just come in as far as you can, take your photos, and then if you could like kind of loop back around, because there's a rail, you can go far, and then you can kind of come back towards the entrance, and I can like kind of lead everybody back down here when you're ready. But it's just make sure that the folks in the back are able to enter the room, because everybody always wants to see this one because it is very, very beautiful. Okay, let me turn on some lights, and before we head up there, I do want to talk to you about this big structure right here. Now, this might look like a mound or some kind of a big rock, but it's actually way more special than that. What this is, it is called Onyx Mountain here at the Caverns. It is one of the world's largest stalagmites. So to think about it in these terms is amazing to me, that every stalagmite starts with a drop of water from a cavern ceiling to the floor. And those minerals build up over years, millions of years. And this one has reached this enormous size over the course of about 40 million years. It has grown so enormous that it has now cut off its mineral water supply. So it is no longer growing or forming in this area. It doesn't grow like a plant, I know I keep using those words, but again, as the mineral water flows over the surface, it will eventually evaporate or leave behind molecules of the minerals, and that's how the formations grow. Levels. Now, the 6th is kind of a cheat because it's a really small area, but it's the 7th level that you're looking for, and it's lit with a green and red light, and very beautiful. That is the entrance to paradise. Now, why is it called the wine room? It's for a couple reasons.
Is there wine in there?
No, it's called the wine room because we whine when we find out it's nothing to do with wine. But it's for the best. We don't want to stumble around in this rocky cave. So this room up here has been underwater. It's not underwater anymore, obviously, but it has previously been underwater for millions of years ago. And we know this because there are structures that grow up there that are called botryoid formations. And they very much do look like clusters of grapes, which is hence the connection to being called the wine room. These formations, when they grow like this, if ever you see them at the river, in the wild, or up in this room, if it's popcorn shaped or grape shaped or popcorn shaped, I already said popcorn, cauliflower shaped, that is something that will only grow that way underwater. And they grow at the rate of about 600 years per every cubic inch. So when you see these structures, you will easily understand that they have been there underwater growing for a very long time. The other reason they call it the wine room is there is something up there that they call the wine table. You really have to stretch your imagination for this thing to resemble anything close to a table, but it does stand on legs, so I suppose it's table-like, but most people think it looks like a dinosaur of some sort. But this wine table is scientifically called a ragonite formation. This formation is very special, and the one that we have is 60 million years old. It's the second oldest formation in the cavern. To classify as a ragonite formation, it must be freestanding, grow underwater, and not be connected to the ceiling or any walls around it, and stand on legs. It is so special and rare, there's only one other discovered in the world. There might be more in the world, but there's only one that's been found, and that is in Sicily. And the one that we have here in Missouri is about 6 feet tall and stands on 3 legs. And the one in Sicily is about 2 feet tall and stands on 2 legs. And while it's probably a fine specimen, it can hold no candle to the one that we have right here in Missouri. So go America, I guess. All right. A marvel here on planet Earth. This geological wonder is 70 million years old, and this type of formation is called a curtain. And because we have the oldest stage curtain, we also have the oldest theater. And just like many modern theaters, we have the backstage changing area. This beautiful carving of the stage curtains, natural carving. And then down here, some of you guys took a look. It's a pit of water. But no, this is the orchestra pit. Hello. And then up here, well, it's probably damp and pointy. It's the balcony seats. Yeah. And we also have some super fancy, gorgeous stalactite chandeliers. All right, I'm going to give you guys a little history because some of you might be thinking like, what? Why are we here and watching a video? So it goes back to the 1940s when the governor of Missouri came here to do a special legislative session dedicated to the veterans of World War I and World War II. For this event, he brought 2 gifts with him. The first gift was a light bulb painted with the American flag so that they could use a projector and project the American flag on the stage curtain for all the veterans that day. The other gift he brought was a world-famous opera singer named Kate Smith, and she sang God Bless America from the parted stage curtain for every cave tour that came through that day. And since that time, the owners of Meramec Caverns have upheld their tradition of honoring our veterans with a display of the American flag. Now, just like Lassie's sculpture, that light bulb is long gone. So today we have a modern light show and a new rendition of God Bless America for all past, present, and future military service. Please enjoy the show.
God bless about done with the tour, and my favorite part was the glowstone.